I'll set the scene somewhat. At our meeting on the 15th of December, that's the Ramsgate Town Council Planning Committee, there was a presentation for an application that is pending for the Port of Ramsgate. At that meeting, there was only 2 residents present. Obviously, there's a couple more present this evening, so the interest is more, as I assumed it would be. I thought that this particular potential application would gender this interest within the residents of Ramsgate and beyond, so I decided that we should call this special extraordinary meeting to give you, the residents and interested parties, the opportunity to listen to the potential applicants, read this particular application, and then use a question and answer session afterwards. I did invite a planning officer from Thanet District Council along to this meeting. I thought it might be useful to explain planning law. However, today, at the last minute, I've received from Madeline Homer, who's the acting chief executive of Thanet District Council, this email addressed to me. It says, "Hi, apologies for the delay in getting back to you. Yes. I've reflected on the position and decided it is not appropriate to send a planning officer as there has not yet been a formal planning application submitted." Well, I think that's a shame. I think that would have been a very useful addition to this meeting. However, nothing much I can do about that now. I'd like to introduce to you the applicant's consultants, Mr. Doug Brown, Mr. Brian White, and the project manager for this particular application, Mr. Ian Fopel. So I'll not waste any more of your time listening to me. I'll hand you directly over to Mr. Brown, who's going to give you the presentation, and after that it'll be open to yourselves to answer questions. Feel free to record the meeting, either visually or sound-wise. Please don't include children if there are in the audience in your filming. If any members of the audience do not wish to be filmed. Oh, sorry, didn't I mention? I'm Councillor Peter Campbell. Okay, sorry about that. That's my fault. Yes. Over to you, Mr. Brown.
Mr. Chairman, you started to make a point about objections to the photograph.
Oh, sorry, yes. If anybody doesn't wish to be included, in any photographs or recordings that are taking place, if you could indicate that if you wish to. You don't want to be. Okay, well.
I've already made that down to the driver.
Okay, fine. Well, if you could make that point clear if and when you wish to answer questions, and then hopefully the people who are filming this meeting will take that into account and not include you. Thank you very much. Over to you, Mr. Brown.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Stand up.
I don't think you really need to see me, so I'll... Firstly, I'd like to provide some context to this proposal. Sorry, well, not very pretty. The Oregon Group initially approached the council last year and spoke to both the Estates Department and Port Office of Thanet Council to see if there was potential for the type of operation proposed. They were aware of the existing aggregate storage and concrete betting facilities that presently exist on the port.
Who are you?
My name's Doug Brown.
What do you do?
Councillor Peter Campbell introduced me. I'm a planning consultant. I'm a qualified town planner and urban design. I work for myself.
Look, can we just stop the shouting out? If you've got a question, and you can put those questions about the qualifications, about anything else, do it through the chairman in the correct and proper way. We can't have a Greek parliament here where everybody shouts out things, okay? So, unless you have the mic, unless you're talking, please be quiet and let the presentation go forward, okay?
Who are you?
Having identified the potential to lease the land, Oregons were advised to seek advice from the council as planning authority, and my name's Doug Brown. I was appointed as a planning consultant to do so. I sought pre-application advice from council officers and also presented the proposal to the town council. The Town Council subsequently requested a presentation be made to this meeting. Ian Bopel represents the company. I can answer planning related questions, and my colleague Brian White has been asked to consider the environmental implications of the operation. I think a little bit of clarification is required initially. It's been stated that we're about to submit a planning application.
We can't
That's
hear
not
you.
actually the case. At the moment, a scheme has not been developed as the company is in the process of information gathering before deciding how to proceed. There is no scheme ready to submit as a planning application, and no scheme will be worked up until the results of the consultation process has been considered. At present, I think that I'd like you all to take that into account. So there is no scheme, we're seeking advice, and this is part of the consultation process. We're also talking to the likes of the Environment Agency and Natural England, who will have an important bearing on how this proceeds if it does. I'd like to now continue in terms of the planning context. Port Ramsgate comprises 9.3 hectares of land. 15% of that land is occupied by Brett's aggregates. This proposal would require about 2.5 hectares adjacent to Brett's. At ports, planning permission is not required for development for the purpose of transporting goods. The Brett's operation, where aggregates are imported, mixed with cement to provide concrete, and exported for use in construction projects, did not require planning permission. The processing of blocks, however, is a separate industrial operation that does require permission. Because the port is adjacent to sites of international conservation designation, any proposal also has to be screened to determine if it requires an environmental impact assessment. The main issues identified as requiring consideration in this instance, and this is from discussions with the agency, Natural England, and the Councillor's Planning Authority, are visual impact, noise, dust, waterborne pollution, and traffic generation. This slide is just for illustrative purposes, but it shows the style area in blue is where Brett's aggregates and concrete batching plant is presently located. And the area next to that is just illustrative and shows the type of site that would be required for the operation that's being considered. And this slide shows an overview of what's involved in terms of the block making operation. I'm just going through the aggregate processing proposal. 3,000 ton vessels of spoil will be shipped twice a week from London to Ramsgate. Also, any dredging of the harbour will be utilised for the process. The spoil will be washed and cleaned at a rate of about 100 tonnes per hour. The resulting aggregate is then screened and crushed, with the residue taken by vessel to a licensed tip at cliff. The block paving proposal, the aggregate is mixed with cement and a binder, loaded into a production unit that makes about 30,000 blocks a day, 5 days a week, between 8 AM and 5 PM, so there's no work at weekends. The blocks will be laid on a large concrete hardstand and left to cure in the open. The blocks are then exported by road or boat. In terms of the wastewood processing operation, this shows an overview of the operation. The wastewood will be delivered primarily by road. At present there's approximately 18,000 tonnes annually available from London waste contracts, and it will be hoped that there will be other contracts available more locally. Within an existing port building, the wood will be shredded and screened. The resultant chip material would then be delivered by boat to Dublin, where it is used in the construction of pallet blocks or MDF. It may also serve as fuel pellets for power stations. finally, just to cover a few issues relating to the development, the proposals will generate approximately 60 lorry movements a week. The aggregate screening and block making will initially employ 28 people. The wood waste operation would initially generate 19 jobs, and the operations may enable the reintroduction of a Ro-Ro ferry service to Ostend because of the increase in use of the port for port-related development. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I was remiss of me that I didn't follow the agenda. So I'm going to have to suspend standing orders because the meeting is taking place here and isn't taking place at Custom House. So I'll move suspension of standing order 1.1. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Dwyer King. Apologies received from Councillor Rick Everett. He's on work-related business. Is there any declarations of interest from members?
Mr. Chairman, you moved and seconded the motion. Who voted on it?
Well, all those in favour, members in favour, please show. Members, thank you. As the meeting's here, I thought it was de facto and it would have been passed. However, we now move on to a question and answer session. I'm sure there's a couple of you who'd like to answer some questions. I can see someone at the back there. Inika has got her hand in the air. If you can take a microphone over, and perhaps the applicants, would you like to use this microphone? As there's only two. Inika.
In relation to the aggregate washing, I would like to know how much water is required each day, what is going to happen to it after you've finished with it, and where the water is coming from in the first place. Thank you.
I think, as I said, at the moment we're very much at the initial stages, and so we're looking at the process involved. It is highly dependent on a hell of a lot of water. Ian Fapel may be able to give you some more details. The proposal is that the water will be recycled, so that there will have to be large tanks on site, that the water will be recycled on a daily basis so that we're not continually using fresh water. Also, the aggregate that comes in is going to be wet in the first place, but you're right, it does require a lot of water to clean the material.
That still doesn't answer the question where it's coming from in the first place.
Yeah, it would be mains water.
Sorry, Town Clerk, Councillor Driver at the front here wants to ask a question. You need a microphone, Councillor Driver?
Yeah, I've been doing a little bit of, thank you. I've been doing a little... I'm speaking so loud, I've broken it. Thanks ever so much. Yeah, I've been doing a little bit of research over the weekend about your plans, and I've got to express some very serious concerns about what I've discovered, and I think hopefully you might be able to give me some satisfaction, although I doubt it. First of all, I want to talk about the wood processing. I'm very, very concerned that your wood processing operation is going to be taking place within 500 metres of a residential area. And we've only got to look back 2 or 3 weeks before Christmas when a similar facility in Worthing set fire and people had to be evacuated from their homes. The other question related to the wood processing, it's wood that has already been used. Goodness knows what chemical treatment is in that wood. If there was to be a fire, then the question is what sort of toxic danger could be the people of Thanet be in. My next question related to this process is the concrete blocks. Now, I understand that the manufacture of concrete blocks involves aggregates, sand, cement and so on, and it also needs something called furnace bottom ash or incinerator bottom ash, which, as the name say, is ash that comes from incinerators or furnaces. Now, many medical professionals and many health and safety organisations have expressed concerns about the use of furnace or incinerator bottom ash. It's linked to heavy metal poisoning, it's linked to cancer, and indeed in America, the use of bottom ash has been prohibited for several years now, I understand, in the manufacture of concrete blocks. So why on earth would you want to bring toxic substances within 500 metres of a residential area in Ramsgate, which could get in the atmosphere and which could cause serious health problems for local people? This is not an industrial area. This is not where we should be having processing of concrete blocks or waste wood. You're putting the people of Ramsgate in very serious danger.
Can you hear me? And you want to see me as well? Right, I just want to... I'm Ian Fopel. I was introduced. I'm the project manager. Is that a question? Right, okay. The wood processing operation. The wood will come in. We're not allowed to pick up any old wood. It has to be examined before it comes from the London source. By the contractor who's bringing it in. It has to be, it is an independent check because there are processes laid down when you receive wood. You will have to be licensed to receive waste wood. And the Environmental Agency are very strict on this. So there is a process in place from where the source is. You may shake your head, Councillor Driver, that is a fact.
I've been speaking to the Environment Agency.
Can I please answer, Councillor Driver, can I please answer the questions or comment on the comments you have made so we have a fair assessment? Yes, please? Is that okay? Yeah? Good.
Carry on, please, thank you.
Right. On the wood processing, as I've said, there are already processes in place to make sure it is correct. When it comes down, it will go through the building that was used for the old Ro-Ro ferry passenger. I think, unfortunately, there was an accident on that building.
Please,
No,
please,
wait.
sir.
Okay. That building is enclosed, and we will also enclose the conveyor that feeds into it, okay? When the wood has been chipped, it is then dropped into 3 bays within that building because the building is high enough to have a mezzanine floor in it where it's processed at the top and sorted and then chipped and dropped down. It will then be taken outside and loaded or put in a small pile, but it will not be piled up in the same way as perhaps you have seen. There was a big fire on the M1 M25 junction that burnt for about 5 or 6 weeks. There's been another one in Dagenham, there's been another one in Duxford up in Cambridgeshire. This will not be the case with us because we have a source in Ireland who want that wood chipping, and they make pallet blocks and they have a continuous process. If they don't get the wood chipped, then their whole factory stops. It's an automated factory. Okay? I'm talking about the 24/7 is in Ireland, not here. On the, you raised a question about concrete blocks. I'm not sure what kind of concrete blocks you've been looking at, but the ones that we're doing do not have FPA, which is what you've been talking about.
Your website says it does.
No, our website. That website should have been taken down. It's no longer. Okay, all right. I've told Louis this, and we have discussed it. It is not the case. There is no FPA in that. There is sand, there is a binder, and there is cement.
What's a binder?
It's just a chemical binder. It's all basic binder. I don't know. I'm sorry. I cannot answer.
Please, we want to ask as many questions as possible.
If there is,
Excuse me. Please allow me to answer the question. If I may not be to your satisfaction, That will be then a judgment that you make if and when an application comes in, and any response you wish to make against that application. If you're not satisfied with the response, that's going to colour your judgment tonight. However, unless you let the applicants respond, you're not going to get any information at all. Please let them respond.
We'll certainly take the matter away regarding the chemical composition of the binder and come back to you. I'm not sure about 500 metres of, you talked about where the residents are, because you've got from the Ro-Ro terminal right the way to the main road, then you've got over up the cliffs, and then you've got the promenade and the green area before the Georgian houses. I don't think that's 500 metres, I think it's a lot bigger than that. That's 300. Okay. Right.
Janet, Phil, Colin first.
That's a great question. Just a quick question.
Go on.
Yeah, you have a facility at Ridham Dock in North Kent, haven't you?
Can't hear it.
No, is the answer to that.
It's not.
No.
It's not your facility.
No,
Well, how come it's a part of the Reagan Group then?
it's not. What says...
It's on your site.
No. What?
Yes, this website's going to be my bet noir, obviously. O'Regan made application to Ridham Dock in 2010, and in fact that is documented somewhere, and did not proceed with it.
Can I ask why they didn't proceed?
Because at the time it wasn't economically viable. If you remember rightly, if you go back about 4 or 5 years, the economics were not good in this country, and he withdrew from it.
And that site is completely isolated, isn't it? It's totally isolated. There isn't a house within miles.
There's the Morrison's development near it.
But there's no housing anywhere near it.
There is no housing near it. No, you're quite right.
Janet Fielding. Just here.
Here you go, Jenny.
I'm Janet Fielding, and I'm doing a development which overlooks the site called Project Motorhouse. And Project Motorhouse will provide about the same number of jobs as you will provide, but it won't be taking up 9.5 hectares of area. Where the port is located. My question, I've got 2 questions. One is that the tunnel has to be closed for regular maintenance, and then the lorries will need to go past the seafront cafes. Our seafront area has recently enjoyed a huge resurgence. There's a number of cafes and businesses that have opened along the seafront because Thanet District Council have stopped putting impediments in the way. And thank you to our local councillors for supporting it. And the other is, my other question is, would you be using the business premises relief allowance, which that building on the port would be eligible for, because this would mean that you could write off any development costs against your corporate tax for 5 years going forward. So in fact, the development of the site would cost you nothing. Is that correct?
Right. In relation to the tunnel closing, I think it closes maybe 4 times a year or something. Anyway, what I understand is that I'm not sure whether it's a local council or it comes from Margate, but a schedule is put out saying the tunnel is going to be closed for cleaning. I think I'm correct on that.
That's under arranged by Kent County Council.
Right, okay, thank you for that, Councillor. When that happens, we will not bring any lorries in, because I, in fact, worked in logistics, and trying to get 13.5 metre trailers round that roundabout, down the bottom, it's just not on. It wouldn't work, and in the summertime, with all the tourists, somebody's going to get hurt. So, what I'm trying to say is, and any residents as well then, okay? So it wouldn't be a viable proposition to try and bring lorries down there. They're going to get delayed, and we're just going to lose drivers' time. So we would ensure we have enough stock on site to carry out our operation. Bearing in mind the aggregates are coming through the sea anyway, and through the port as well, and not coming by road vehicle. On the question of the
business premises relief allowance, renovation allowance. Actually,
we're not into that. Sorry, we're not in. I don't quite understand where you're coming from, because we're not renovating any building. We're not taking 9 hectares. We're taking 2.5 hectares, not 9 hectares.
I thought Doug said 9.5 hectares.
No, that is the total amount of land.
Oh, sorry.
There. No, that's okay. I mean, it's quite a complicated thing anyway. But we're not into renovating any buildings at all. Only altering that passenger footway building that I've talked about already, internally.
That would qualify.
Yeah. Please don't film this gentleman. Thank you.
I'll stand in front of you.
Ken Jones. Benefit of operation. Income for the port, increased use of port by shipping for Ro-Ro. Where are they going to park when they come here? You're taking up all the space. So where is the Ro-Ro traffic going to park? There's no space for it left, because you're using it all.
I will say again, we are not taking up all the space on the port. If you look at the area, good, yes. This is the area we're taking here. That's the Ro-Ro dock unit there. You've got all that space going right towards the old terminal building and right towards the main road. We're not involved in that at all. We're not renting it. To take up the whole space of the port, we would have to negotiate a new heads of terms, etc. So, no, sorry, we're not. The Ro-Ro operation as well, whilst it has been mentioned, is something that will happen after we've got the block making operation and wastewood operation going.
Candice?
Yes. I do believe that there's people on your panel that were